Welcome to Scoop Boat Order. We have got a shocker. Trayanum has hit the portal. Could Trey Henderson be coming back? That is the big news of the night. I am stunned by this one. We're going to get into all that. We're going to get into a 5-star tackle that is coming tomorrow. We're going to go into that. We're going to take your questions. As always, we appreciate you guys, everything you guys do on the show. We got a special announcement. Our super chats are going to go into our Pay It Forward fund, which we used to help out a number of people, people overseas, soldiers, give them Buckeye Scoop memberships for Christmas. So through Christmas, our super chats are going to go into the fund to help people out. We've been doing that for since our inception. It's been a wonderful program. We've taken care of a lot of people. We do it silently. But it's a very wonderful thing that we've been doing. So we appreciate you guys, your generosity. So through Christmas, that'll be the new method for giving. So thank you for all of your support. As always, we appreciate you guys. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert button. If you love this program and you love this page, join Buckeye Scoop Ultra. Again, we're going to have an Ultra chat in the next few weeks. It's going to be just our Ultra members and Nevada and I, and we're going to tear it up. It's going to be a blast. So consider joining that. And join BuckeyeScoop.com, the #1 premium message board. They are separate entities, but they are very, very fun to be a part of. Our message board is absolutely on fire right now. So we have a lot of great stuff going on, as always. With that being said, going to bring in my good friend Nevada Buck. Nevada, the Pay It Forward thing has been a great thing we've done since we opened at BuckeyeScoop.com. We're going to give all of our super chat money, starting with this show, going forward to it through Christmas. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're going to give all of our Buckeye Ultra members money to that as well. So I think we really want to try to give as much to the Pay It Forward. I think Pay It Forward is just such a great concept and a great thing, and it's just great to we focused on first responders, we focused on service members, and people in need. So trying to help out as many people as we can, get some questions answered, and help out. So do good and do good and do good. So win across the board. But lots of things going on. I can still feel the excitement from the Nevada Buck reveal. I think people are still kind of on the edge of their seat from that one. After I got a lot of people that told me that I look like Nicole Auerbach after that, and I'm just like, that's kind of what I was going for. I was going for kind of that horsey, kind of big teeth, Mr. Ed. If Mr. Ed had a love child, it would be Nicole Auerbach type of thing. And hopefully I pulled it off. So that's this. But no, lots of things going on. We got coaching changes. We've got, let me tell you, the word is that Trey Henderson is returning. Now, the problem that I have is I just can't believe the word right now. But that is the word. That is the word from inside the WAC. And it's like, it's one of those things that normally when I would get something like this, I'd put it out. I'd be like, hey, guys, this is what we're hearing. This is where we're going. But I just am having a hard time processing it because it doesn't make any sense to me. But that is the word. The word is Trey is returning. We've had that for a couple of days. We've talked about that. And now you've got Chip that's just entered the portal, which would seemingly support the word, because why would Chip leave when he's going to be the starting running back next year? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense unless Trey's returning. So that's what I can give you. Like I said, that's what we got. That's what I think is happening. I'm in disbelief as much as the next person is about it, but that is what is being said around the Woody Hayes right now, is that Trey Henderson is returning for a 4th year at Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, we've had that for a few days, and I just didn't believe it. And I talked to a really, really, really good source, and he said, that was out of the blue. He said, I'm hearing Trey Henderson's coming back, and I was like, I think I literally wrote on the board, like, I'd be, if Elon Musk's Cybertruck fell out of the sky and landed on me and killed me, I'd be less, it would be more shocking than, Trey Henderson coming back would be the most seismic return I've ever seen at Ohio State. Just it's mostly because it's not as much the position, running back. I feel like he's the top running back in the draft. I mean, when's the last time you saw a guy who's projected as the top running back in the draft, who's all Big Ten, come back? Because it's such a different position. Those guys don't get second contracts. Those guys, they've got to have as much shut on the tires as possible. But I'm telling you, Chip taking off, if Trey would take off, which is what I still deep in my heart of heart believes is going to happen. I'm not going to get my hopes up thinking that Trey's going to come back. I have a source swearing it's going to happen. We're down to Dallin Hayden for the college. It's going to be Dallin Hayden X, and then the walk-ons for the Missouri game. So, I mean, Chip leaving was shocking because I projected that he'd start next year next to whoever we have at quarterback, but instead it could be Trey Henderson. So again, I know that people have consternation about NIL. The source I talked to tonight said there's a very large pot of money for some of these kids right now, and it's not 1870 society, but there's another pot that's out there that is helping these kids stay in school. And I'm like, well, that's great. I mean, I hope that they give some of that to JJ Smith and some of these guys that are flippable. But that's something that was pleasantly surprising, just because I think a lot of people, they worry about Miami, they worry about Florida State, they worry about these schools, Oregon, that are spending through the nose, Texas. But we're starting to build up the wealth, which is good. Nevada, in your time, you've been doing this for 30ish years, whatever, 30, 40 years. What's the most shocking return that you can remember? Like Mike Doss or Will Smith? I mean, Trey would top all those for me, but in your opinion?
Yeah, well, the Mike Doss, I kind of recounted on the board today. Mike Doss. I literally spoke to Mike Doss the night before his announcement, and he told me why he was leaving and explained it. And then he walked up to the podium, changed his mind, and decided to come back and let us to a national championship. So, look, you never know on these coming and going stuff. I never want to go all in on a kid staying or a kid going, because so many things can change it. One phone call can change it. Certainly with NIL, it just adds another dimension to it completely. But Trey would be right up there. I mean, I thought the Will Smith, Darian Scott one. I still remember the day that I heard those guys were returning, because I was thinking, that's like getting like two 10-star defensive linemen. You know how good Will Smith and Darian
Yeah.
Scott were. You blocked those guys,
Uh-huh.
and those guys were legit superstar college players, man. I mean, guys that went on to the NFL and played well, and so I remember when those guys came back, that was shocking. But I think this one would surpass them all, and that's why, like I said, I'm having a hard time processing it, having a hard time, believing the information. But it's definitely out there, and it seems to be happening. So we'll see.
Yeah, because I just like Chip. I mean, if you believe that Trey was leaving, I mean, Chip's got to be the lead guy. Him and Dallin. I mean, Jordan Lyle, our kid who's out of Miami, is very much at risk to getting flipped to Miami. So we don't even have a running back in the class. So I don't know what would make Chip leave if there's only two running backs in the entire room. If mine's declared for the draft, Evan Pryor's in the portal. I don't know why you jump in the portal unless you had pretty firm word that Trey was coming back. Which again, until it happens, until the foot hits the ball to start September next year, I'll believe it when I see it. But again, it would be a massive get for Ryan Day. I got a first super chat, $10 for Ryan Coolidge. Appreciate you, brother. Serious question: who in their right mind would transfer or commit to the Cheaters up north with the current investigation going on up there? I have no idea. I think it's very sketchy to commit to a staff that potentially could all get fired. But Michigan is a good school. I mean, it's a great education. It's on tier with Ohio State in terms of being a blue blood, being a top 10ish, 15ish program in the country. So no matter who's the head coach there, they're going to have resources and it's going to be a good school. But I agree. I mean, I think that one of the things that was convincing to me, when I committed to Ohio State, is that Jim Tressel just won a national title, so he wasn't going anywhere. So I knew that there was a really good chance I'd have him for 5 years. I did. Obviously, he lasted 10 at Ohio State before he got fired. But Nevada, who in the right mind would commit to Michigan right now?
Well, first of all, look, you've got some posters and some people that are going to saying, "Oh, nothing's going to happen to Michigan." And what I've said to them every time, and I'm putting this out there, this is to the internet, to the world, okay? Do you want to bet? Do you want to bet that nothing's going to happen to Michigan? Because if you do, I'm your Huckleberry. I'm your guy. Let's line it up. Let's put it out there. But we're talking about, this isn't like I'm from Las Vegas. So like if you bet, I'm expecting you to pay. So we're going to expect put your money up. We'll do the thing. But I am telling you right now, Michigan is going to get hammered by the NCAA. And no, it wasn't going to happen in 6 weeks. No, this stuff doesn't happen that way. But when it comes down, it's going to be bad. And it's going to be, LOIC. It's going to involve Harbaugh. It's going to involve Jay Harbaugh. It's going to involve postseason bans. It's going to involve vacation of wins. It's going to be the whole enchilada. So when people out there going, "Oh, nothing's happening. Nobody cares about this. They won. It doesn't matter." put your money where your mouth is, or shut up. Either one, but like do one or the other. Stuff on the side, but um, and that goes for anybody. Michigan sites, Michigan insiders, John Bacon, whomever wanted to do it. Jay Harbaugh, Jay, if you want to bet, whatever you want to do, man. I'm taking all comers on that. I am making book on that one, and I will stand behind that. So that's my position on it.
John U. Bacon, come on down. Bring that wire transfer slip. But I agree. Like I don't know how you can think that all of it has already been spilled. And there's a ton more that again they're just wrapping it up. Again, it's like, you guys are Mafia fans and you watch the biopics and stuff. They build these RICO cases, and it's not, they don't spill every little drop. It's like when it's time to drop the hammer, it's this big massive case, and they spell it all out, and then they give reason for the punishment, and they dish out the show clause, and they can't fire anybody. But if you get a 5-year show clause, you're basically done for 5 years in college football. So that's what I expect to happen. Again, this is the biggest cheating scandal in college football history, and they're not going to take that lightly. I mean, that's a pretty nasty thing to have on your resume, and that's what they're dealing with. Another super chat, Francis Plum, appreciate you. The 10 is going to pay it forward. Science exposed our SOCOM intel system. In 2019, UM went to Coronado, met with NSW, Stahl used Signet, Humnet, and OSINT to get an advantage. Obviously, those are all acronyms. You can spell them out. It was obvious to someone trained. I agree. Like, again, this was a sophisticated operation. I mean, it was sophisticated in some areas, and it was very, very barbaric in other areas. But, again, I am still of the belief, and again, I could just be completely crazy. I could have tinfoil hat on, but I believe they're decoding the signals in game and breaking the codes in game to confirm everything. Because again, like you look at what they did the second half at Ohio State last year, it was like it was like a whole different team took the field. It was crazy, and I think they were breaking that. So Nevada, do you agree with that they use the SOCOM intel systems? Because like I think that again, this wasn't like some piece of paper and, write down the signal and try to break the code. This was like something where they were tying it together. I mean, you saw the little sheet that they found on the Michigan bench where they had Keenan Bailey and, the color, how many times he wore a green shirt versus a blue shirt versus a red shirt. Like, I mean, this was crazy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, do I believe that they were using artificial intelligence or some sort of a code breaking, program to kind of collate stuff? I absolutely believe that happened. Now, but let's not make Stallion sound like he was some, super, special operations up. He was a supply guy. He was the guy that made sure there were enough peaches and stuff like that, and K rations and stuff, water, which is important. Like if you've ever been out there, like I've never been deployed. I was never in the service, but I would imagine having enough peaches is really important if you're out there and you're like, man, I really want some peaches. And then the supply guy comes by and he say, hey, I've got a case of peaches. Then that's pretty important. But I don't think he was like working on the Cray computer, breaking like the Enigma code or the purple thread for the Japan thing, predicting Pearl Harbor or anything like that. I think he was making sure that we had fresh fruit.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it was overly crazy. This is crazy. B Clay all day. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. It goes to pay it forward. Plus money against Missouri or Missoula. I think you're saying like Missoula, Montana is wild. Laugh out loud. OHIO. Appreciate you, my man. Yeah, this line has shifted. I mean, at least 7.5 points. And I mean, you're down to, if Trey does play, you got him. That's a big plus. But you lose your starting quarterback. I'm sure that bookies are projecting that there's not going to be Marvin and Mecca, et cetera. It's a wild swing. Missouri, I don't know if they're losing anybody, and they're going to be hunting for bear. But, we got guys like Brandon Inniss and Carnell Taylor ready to go ball. So, I mean, I wouldn't be so sure. Obviously, a new starting quarterback, no matter who it is going to be making his first career start. So that'll be different. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing, especially since we have the whole line back. None of the linemen are going to be taken off. So that's good. Nevada, is this line swing? I mean, you've seen a lot of crazy line swings in your life, but where does this one rank? I mean, this is a 7-point swing in, 5 days? But your thoughts?
I'm not sure. I have to go back and really see how legitimate the line swing is on something like that. Sometimes they post, preliminary lines. They're not real lines. They're not lines that you can get real action against. So let me check it. But having said that, I'm telling you, Ohio State's going to. A lot of guys are going to play in this game that you don't think are going to, that people are not expecting to play in the game. I think that's going to be one. That's going to be one surprise. Secondly, Devin Brown. People don't have any idea how good Devin Brown. Devin Brown's a baller, man, and give him an entire Bulls thing to prep for this thing. He's going to go out there and do it. He was not far off Kyle McCord in fall camp. We said that was neck and neck. No, he doesn't have 11 starts under his belt, but I think he's going to acquit himself quite nicely. And I think this Ohio State team's going to acquit themselves quite nicely in this game. So I definitely, anytime I can get Ohio State as an underdog, I'll take him. Anytime I get Ohio State as an underdog, in a situation, Ryan Day's been good in these spots. He's been good in these spots. We didn't get it done against Michigan. It didn't cover, but played well. Got it done against Georgia last year. So no, I think Ohio State's going to surprise some people because I think people are reading too much into this mass exodus of guys in the transfer portal, and they're kind of equating this with like chaos. And this isn't chaos. We're just thinning the herd right now, and the guys that are left can play, and I think they're going to acquit themselves quite nicely.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys have a lot to prove too, so that's going to be really interesting to see. How guys step in that have wanted to play more all year. Well, now is your opportunity. I mean, there's going to be some guys that potentially will sit out, and we get some guys that can ball. Tora, treasure the Tora. Appreciate you, brother. As always, you're in here every night. Thank you, my man. This goes to Pay It Forward. This 10. What's up, Kirk? What's up, Nevada? So our boy Chip of the Portal now. Did not see that one coming. I didn't see it coming either. Is there any insight to why he's leaving? I mean, I hate saying out loud that Trey Henderson is coming back, but I just don't know why else why would Chip leave? Like, I mean, this is like the emptiest running back room. If he knew Trey was leaving, it's him and Dallin. And you need at least 2-3 running backs to get through the Big Ten. I mean, you got 12 games. It's a tough season. Like, you see how these guys get hurt. I mean, Mayan was hurt this year. Trey was hurt this year. Chip was hurt this year. I mean, running backs get hurt. I mean, they get hit hard. They get hit a lot. So to leave and to go to like a better system doesn't really make sense. Cause the offense is going to be the same. Quarterback will be different, but the O-line is pretty much all back, except for Matt Jones. So I mean, again, I don't know. Again, this is a shocker to me if Trey does come back, but, what are your thoughts, Nevada? I mean, is there any other insight as to why Chip will leave other than that?
Well, no, and remember, it's not just Chip. It's Mayan. It's Evan Pryor.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Chip. Like you said, it's the emptiest running back room in the world
Ever.
Unless Trey Henderson's coming back. And Trey Henderson coming back, then all of a sudden it got really full. So that's the only thing that I can come up with, and it's consistent with what we're hearing. And Trey's, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole on this, but Trey's a real kind of spiritual kid. And if he felt a calling to come back, if he felt like this was what he was supposed to do, then he's all in with it. And to me, that matches up with what we're seeing from all the other guys in the room, because if he was leaving, they're not all leaving because they're getting playing time. And it's not like we've got some, superstar Maurice Clarett or Beanie Wells or Robert Smith, coming in through the door there, either. So we've got some good backs coming in, but nobody that's superhuman or nobody that, is just an obvious heir apparent to the starting job. So I think it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, we're not connecting anybody in the portal. And the one kid we have recruited who's from St. Thomas Aquinas is highly likely to flip to the U. So again, I don't know. It's bizarre, but kind of is what it is. Joe Oley retired from the Marines 20 years. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate your service as well. No supply officer did this alone 100%. I think we agree. I mean, this was, this was, when a guy's making 50 G's, and then he buys like a $600,000 house, he gets paid off, and his parents' house gets paid off. Like, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense right there. Something, this guy was doing something, and someone was kind of bankrolling it, and that'll be fascinating. Because I think Jay Harbaugh's the guy's going to get fingered in it. Again, I had a good source talk through the last 2 days, and he thinks there's a lot of guys are going to be going down as the paper trail is exposed. Because again, these guys didn't hide their paper trail. That was kind of the amazing thing. You agree with that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, you think about, for these Michigan fans that have just been beaten down for so long, and Stallions comes up with this little gimmick and they win the game. What is that worth to some of these guys? Is that worth a few $100,000 to pay off the house or something. I think that's precisely what happened. And,
No.
I think it's all going to come out. And I agree with you completely. I think Fredo Harbaugh is definitely going to be the one that's going to go down. Anytime you have the idiot son that's out there, posting on Venmo about buying, 7,000 T-shirts from Stallions, I don't think people have to, you don't have to be some sort of, detective to figure this one out. Jay Harbaugh was clearly the linchpin on all this stuff, and I think he's going to go down for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sam, thanks for the deuce. Do you think Donovan Jackson comes back? I think he should come back. I think he's going to come back. I mean, again, Ryan Day, a function of the way the job is now, had to talk to these guys, and his office has been filled with 50 different Buckeyes who all want to know, if I come back, how much NIL money am I going to get? And Ryan, to his credit, is really smart. He says, look, let's go beat Missouri, and then we'll talk NIL. Okay, let's go beat Missouri first. So he's not talking NIL with anybody right now, which I think is the correct approach, because it's one of those deals where when you start doling out numbers and all these kids start talking, and a kid gets butt hurt because one kid gets 50 grand and another kid gets 150 grand, and they think they're the same player or the same value or whatever. I'm just throwing out just arbitrary numbers. Like, that's the hard part. So Ryan, literally, for all of these kids that were considering the portal or considering the draft, that they all wanted to walk in and talk business with their parents, they all want to talk money, Ryan literally said to them, this is from a direct source, let's beat Missouri. We're not worried about money right now. Let's go get a win. Let's go finish the season out right. Let's go send these seniors out the right way. And I was like, that's great, because you don't need any of these kids that are, in it for the bag. Obviously the bag is available for everybody now, and that's part of the deal. But I think Donnie Jackson is the guy that needs to come back. I didn't think he had a great year. He was first team All Big Ten, which mildly surprising, but I think that the guards in the Big Ten were relatively weak. So he was, and he had a lot of preseason hype. He was a 5-star kid, but his film's not great. I mean, I watched his tape, and again, I love Donnie. I wish Donnie was the best guard in the history of the world, but he didn't play like it. And again, against Michigan, he gave up basically the game-ending, hit that led to an interception. So, again, I think there's a lot of meat on the bone for Donnie to get a lot better. He's already a strong kid. He's a really talented kid, but his hand placement is terrible, and it shows up on film over and over again versus lesser opponents, which, again, for a guy like Donnie, he should be an absolute dominator for as strong and as quick and as athletic as he is, but he's not. So he's got to get a lot better technically. Nevada, do you think Donovan Jackson comes back?
I was told by a person that is closely associated with Donnie Jackson that he is 100% coming back next year. So I tend to believe it. So I think we can pretty much pencil him in. I think next year your offensive line, you're returning Simmons, you're returning Donnie, you're returning Carson. You've talked about Fryer sliding over guard, so you're really replacing the right tackle. But that's a pretty good starting core right now. I mean, I heard some people talking about, we need multiple offensive linemen. I would submit those 4 guys returning right there makes up one of the best offensive lines in the country right there. And I can't think of anybody in the portal that's better than any of those 4 guys. So I think I am told he's coming back, and I believe he's coming back.
Well, I just think that when you're going through the conversations, it makes sense. Again, I think linemen are a lot like quarterbacks. I don't think it's never bad to come back for another year when you're at certain positions. Some positions, receiver, running back, it's a lot easier to jump after 3 years. They're simpler. They're easier places to play. O-line is, it's a beast now. It's tough. You're going against grown men in the league, and you want to be as ready as possible. Same with quarterback. That's why Quinn Ewers is coming back. Quinn Ewers has 20 starts, and he just broke the Big 12 record. But the statistics on when guys have 20 starts, like Mitch Trubisky and some of these guys that are 3-and-out guys, the statistics are ugly. They're very ugly. I think Mitch was a redshirt junior when he left, but you want to get that 35-ish, 40-ish career starts, and then your success rate in the NFL is just much, much higher. Because in the NFL, they don't wait. They set the record for most rookie quarterbacks started. So, Quinn Ewers, if he declared, or any quarterback that's a third-year guy, they're going to be playing next year. These quarterbacks get knocked out of games, and some teams are down to their third and fourth quarterbacks, and you got to be ready to go. All right, Ryan Coolidge, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 10. Appreciate everything that you guys do. We appreciate you guys as well. If you're not a member of The Scoop, go sign up. BuckeyesScoop.com has been insane, breaking records day over day, every day. It's been awesome. So if you guys aren't on our message board, it is a fantastic community. Tons of intel on there, a lot of great insiders. Why would Trey come back? He's injury prone. Why risk the money? I have no idea. Other than maybe he's just a different cat. Maybe he loves college, but like running backs almost have to go. If you're good enough to go, like J.K. Dobbins went. I think Trey's better than J.K. Talent wise, physicality. He's certainly bigger and stronger than J.K. J.K. wasn't a real big dude. But I mean, Beanie went after 3. Ezekiel went after 3. Like I never begrudge a running back for going after 3 because those guys don't get second contracts. They don't get big second contracts. You look at what those guys get, and it's maybe a 1-year franchise tender, and then the wheels kind of fall off. And when you go to the league, they beat the tar out of you if you're a young running back. And you look at Ezekiel. Like Ezekiel's one of the greatest Buckeyes who ever lived, but he got a big second deal, and the wheels kind of fell off like during the second deal, and he got cut, and he never saw all that money. So thankfully he went early. He was a 5th overall pick and made good money early in the career because now he's kind of the point in his career where he's going to be getting 1-year deals for as long as he can last. Nevada. Why would Trey come back? He's injury prone. Why risk the money?
That's why I think those are all good reasons why he shouldn't come back.
Yeah.
I think if he's coming back, it's about something completely different than that. It's about some sort of a different calling, about something. But again, this is a weird one because you guys listen to the show. You guys know I don't usually waffle on my positions. I'm not like a 50-50 guy. Either you have it or you don't. I always believe it's either 100% or it's 0. This one, we 100% have this, that he's coming back, but I 100% don't believe it. So, it's hard for me to speculate on it or take too strong of a position on it because it just seems so wild to think it. But I'll just say that if he does come back, it has nothing to do with football. It has everything to do with something else inside of him that's telling him to return for another year.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that, of all the guys that are on the board, Marvin, Emeka, JT, Jack, I mean, Trey literally would be the most shocking guy to come back. If you said Kirk, who'd shock you the most? I'd say Trey, because he's a running back, and it's something against the kid, but like running backs that are good, they need to go to the league. So again, we'll get into that. D Sunny, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Nevada, can you talk about Robert Smith a little? How good was he, and why did he take a year off? Nevada, have at it.
Well, Robert Smith was interesting. You're talking about the National Player of the Year. As highly touted as anybody could be, and was a serious student. At the seemingly serious student at the time, wanted to be a doctor, and as I recall the story correctly, and again, I got this one secondhand, but this was the one where it was Elliot Uzlak was the offensive coordinator, and basically was saying you need to pay attention more to football and stop paying attention to your books, and that got Robert upset, and then Robert decided to just stop playing football for a year, and it was one of the more bizarre stories I think that I can ever remember at Ohio State in all my years of following Ohio State football. And then he came back. Ellie got fired, and he ended up coming back, ended up playing, then obviously played, for years in the NFL for the Vikings. And, it was a terrific NFL running back as well. So I'm not quite sure where the whole, it was always the thing about academics and football with him, kind of the balance. And so Robert was a little bit of a, I wanted to, not saying the word hypocrite, but it was like the words and the music didn't always match up with Robert, but fabulous player and interesting story for sure.
Yeah, that's a wild one. Great player. I mean, he was almost NFL MVP the 1 year, and then he quit early, which was kind of a different tone. Robert Conover, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you. And Zach Smith said a poll was taken for QB1 amongst coaches, and DB33 won, but Day went with Kyle McCord. I mean, I've heard all kinds of craziness about this. I heard that he was named the starter, and then he got called by some parents, and they went with Kyle. Again, I don't know what is real. I mean, I've heard a lot of things from a lot of people that would know. But it was close. Like people that think it was just the Kyle McCord show all of camp, I think after you've seen a full body of Kyle's work, he's a good player, but I mean, it wasn't like he was some dominating force and that Devin Brown couldn't have beaten him out, especially in spurts where you're in scrimmages. And you got to understand when you're in fall camp and you're rotating, sometimes guys go with the first team, sometimes guys go with the second team. And the thing about it is, man, is like sometimes when you're with that second team O line, you don't get great pass protection. So you put Kyle, who's got lead feet, versus a second team O line that isn't quite as good as the first O line, and you better be able to run and get out of the way and not get sacked every time. And I could see Devin doing much better with inferior pass protection than Kyle would. So again, when you're rotating and it's a competition like that, like that's kind of what it is. Nevada, I don't know. I mean, I believe Zach. I mean, Zach's got great sources, especially on the staff, about there being a straw poll and Devin Brown winning, just because I think that they were worried early on about our tackles pass protection. So if you go with the guys a little bit more athletic, it would make sense. But your thoughts on that?
Look, I think this is not meant to denigrate Zach. I mean, I love Zach, but we sometimes we get information that's the same, sometimes it's different, sometimes there could be a little twist on it. Who knows? I don't believe for a second that Ryan Day was influenced by a parent. And let's just call it out. What he's saying is that Papa McCord came in and threatened to pull his kid, and that's why he started him. I don't believe that. I just don't. I don't believe that to be true. Now, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but that's just my personal opinion. I don't believe that Ryan Day was swayed by a parent in terms of making his decision. Do I believe it was close amongst the staff? I know it was close amongst them. I talked to staff members that really thought that Devin Brown was the real deal. Like, hey, Devin Brown's good enough to win the Heisman this year type of thing. So as crazy as that sounds, but that stuff happened. Was there a straw poll? I don't know. I mean, I can tell you whenever there's a poll with a head football coach, there's only one vote that matters, and that's his. And that's true whether that was Jim Tressel or Urban Meyer or John Cooper or Earl Bruce or Ryan Day. I mean, they're paid the big money. They're the ones who've got to make the decision. So while they're taking input from people, they're going to follow their own heart in terms of this stuff. And I think he just really, I mean, Kyle had been in the system for years. He was dependable. He started a game. And I think that Ryan just thought that he was the best option for us, to go. And look, we went 11-1 and came within one play of being the number one seed in the whole playoffs and having a chance to win the national championship with Kyle McCord at quarterback. So it's not like it was some sort of failed experiment. The only thing that's failed is that we invested a year in Kyle and now Kyle's gone. But that's just where we're at. So I'm all in on Devin Brown now because Devin Brown's what we got. And if Devin Brown goes down and we have Lincoln, then I'm all in on Lincoln. Or whoever the transfer is or whatever it is. But I think it's going to be the Devin Brown show against Missouri, and I think it's going to be I know it's going to be fun, and I think he's going to do better than people think he's going to do because he's a heck of a quarterback.
I totally agree. Puber 12, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Running backs aren't getting second contracts in the NFL anymore. I totally agree. Did Trey get a second round grade is trying to get himself a more lucrative first contract? Maybe. Maybe. I think that would make perfect sense. I can't imagine Trey getting a first round grade when he missed half the season with an injury. But, I'm sure that durability is his biggest question mark. Last year was kind of a lost season. This year when he was on, he was first team All Big Ten and he played half the games this year. That's how good he was. So, it's always a dice roll when you're a running back, man, because you're going to come back and probably get 250 touches, between the land and air, throwing it to you, whatever. Do you want to play another year for, not free because they get NIL money, but for college. And, again, the other thing is that if you're a second round pick, your contract is 4 years and you get to free agency when you're 24-ish, and you get, a chance to get at least something in a second deal where, every year that goes by, the older you are, the less likely you are to get that second deal. Nevada, do you think Trey is staying to play himself into the first round next year?
If he stays, I'm sure that's somewhere in the back because I'm sure that's part of the calculus for him. I personally think a guy like Trey would go to the combine, run sub 4.4 and play himself into the first round anyway. So regardless of how the grades. I mean, the grades are they're not a perfect predictor of how you're going to go. And we've talked about some of the teams that are drafting late in the first round, and if you've got a Trey Henderson sitting there, you're grabbing him because he's a guy that can help you in so many different ways. But I'm sure it's part of the calculus. But if he does declare that he's coming back, I want to dig deeper into the story so I can give you guys the real deal in terms of what this whole thing was about, because it's going to be one heck of a story.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I keep thinking of the Kansas City Chiefs, and they've got Pacheco, but I mean you put Trey in there with that offense. I mean Pat Mahomes has no weapons other than Kelsey. Kelsey's like 35 years old. I mean you got to give that guy somebody. They got rid of Tyreek Hill, who's the best receiver in football. A team like that, adding a Trey Henderson who could do basically anything on the football field, would be a huge add. Nothing new. Thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, brother. I just want to say hello and thank you to both of you. From EO Buck, LFG. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for your patronage. Thank you for the 20. It is going to the Pay It Forward Fund, which we use. We use it to help out all kinds of people, but a lot of service people. We put them basically on a 1-year deal with BuckeyeScoop.com so they can enjoy the website when they are abroad. It's been a great program for us, so we appreciate you, and so do the military people that benefit from Pay It Forward. Keith Dennison, thank you for the 5. 2 things. Trey is going to get injured, trying to prove he's not injury prone. Nevada, gun to your head, does J.J. Smith stick?
Yeah, I think J.J. Smith does stick. I think Ohio State expects J.J. Smith to stick as well. So as long as Hartline's here, I just don't think we're going to lose wide receivers. Now, if Hartline left, which I've heard nothing to believe that that's going to happen in this particular cycle, but if he left, then I think it's open season. But as long as he's here, J.J. Smith would be dumb. J.J. Smith is not a dumb kid, and he'd be dumb to leave Ohio State at this point in time. And I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and the thing that the biggest threats are obviously Miami and Florida State. Florida State is whatever, but something interesting happened in the last 2 days with Florida State and J.J. Smith. The fact that they've had players, they had a defensive end who's a really good player, enter the portal. Because they said he said that negotiations have broken down between myself and Florida State's collective, i.e., I want money to come back or I'm leaving. So I think that Florida State might be running out of money. So that sent a shockwave through the J.J. Smith camp because they're promising all this money to J.J., but they can't even afford to pay a really good defensive end. So again, sometimes you got to read between the lines on some of this stuff because it is a crazy time. So again, that's just something to pay attention to because when Florida State loses a really good DN because of money, maybe they're not quite as rich as everybody thinks. Sergio Selma, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. You're on here every night, so thank you so much. Do we need a power back in the transfer portal? If so, who? We're better off without Honda. Burn the boats. I like burn the boats. I know that burn the boats thing was really cool. I don't know. I mean, I think Dallin could kind of do that. I don't know what running back in the portal makes a ton of sense, but I think that, if we lose Jordan Lyle, man, we got to go get somebody. I mean, we can't just play the season with 2 scholarship running backs, but I haven't seen a guy where I'd be like, oh my God, let's go get that guy. I mean, the ETN kid from Florida is great, but he's got a no contact tag, so he's likely already got his own spot picked out. Nevada, do we need to add a power back or any back in the portal with losing Chip?
Well, I've got a crazy idea. Okay, I'm gonna throw this out there. But you know who your power back is? Your extra back? It's your quarterback. That's what we need to do.
Brown.
We need to run Devin Brown, run Lincoln in those those short yardage types of situations, around the goal line type of situations. Look, I love Chip. Chip is one of my all-time favorite guys. Love me some Chip. Big fan of Chips. We'll be fine without Chip. Chip's just a guy. I mean, he's fine. But look, let's face it, on all the guys that we've lost so far, other than McCord, they're just guys. They're just guys, and it's fine. And Julian Fleming's terrific, and I think his blocking's underrated. And obviously we've got McCord, but then you've got a lot of guys that are just kind of on the depth chart, and have the potential to be good. But we're going to be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine with the Chip thing. Run the quarterback just a little bit more. Pick up those 4 or 5 rushing. I mean, Chip only had 3 rushing touchdowns this year anyway. Can we get that out of the quarterback position? Without a doubt, we could get that. Plus. So that's the answer to your short yardage problems.
Yeah, I totally agree. Michael Holstein, appreciate you, my man. This is great. Michigan played Game of Thrones, and now winter is coming. That is a great comparison. Yeah, they're trying to be Littlefinger and be the slickest guy in the room, and now it's time for their heads to get chopped off. But I agree. I mean, I think they got desperate. Harbaugh's 0-5 against Ohio State. Then magically he's run off 3 straight. They needed a way to save face, whatever. But yeah, I totally agree. Nevada, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, this is the end of the road for them. That's what's going to make the Alabama game just so delicious. I mean, as much as I'm looking forward to the Ohio State game against Mizzou, and I am really looking forward to that game. I am looking forward to the Michigan Alabama game with just I can't wait. I'm counting the hours down to that. And I said this on the board. I would sit through 100 Alabama national championship games if it meant Michigan would just never win one. That's how much I hate Michigan. People are like, oh, I hate Alabama. Man, my hate for Michigan supersedes anything with Bama. I respect Bama. I respect Saban. I respect their program. I respect the players that they put out. Like you said, they don't talk a lot of trash. They just go out and just kick butt. And but Michigan, I mean, Michigan is just the ultimate annoying, fraudulent program. And I just can't wait for them to get smacked down by Bama. I thought there was the little video when they announced Bama when they're sitting there waiting for Florida State to come up there on the screen, and also it's like Bama, and it was like somebody came in and stole their lunch money from them. And they all started kind of sobbing because they're going to play Bama. That was great, and I can't wait for the game.
Yeah, I mean, because they thought they were going to play Brock Glenn or Vandergriff or whoever the second dude is, and I'm just like, dude, like you got to play the big boys now. You got to play Saban with a month to prepare, and I mean, if you watch their offensive line against Georgia, man, it was a mass murder. I mean, those guys were killing it, dudes. I mean, and Georgia's got as good of a defense as there is. I mean, they've been the top defensive team in football for 3 years, and those Bama guys got after them. Bama's got maybe the biggest offensive line I've ever seen. I mean, they were like 350 across the board, and those guys were pile driving Georgia's dudes, and they won them the game. Again, like Georgia's 29 game winning streak. They're playing in the Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Dome, and they were pounding those guys. Richard Good, thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you, my man. If you have a question, throw that in the chat. I will dig around to see if you have one by chance. I don't think I see one. I see Susan's in here. Appreciate all our regulars in here. Do you think we're getting Jordan Seaton tomorrow? I don't know if I'll believe the Jordan Seaton thing until it actually happens. God, I don't know. Nevada, Jordan Seaton. I mean, we haven't been great since Stud left to getting the 5-star lineman. But they're gonna play NIL ball with this guy. So, but I mean, we're going against Oregon and Tennessee. Those guys are mega NIL players. What are your thoughts on Jordan Seaton? Turn his phone on, actually.
Well, here's my thoughts on all that stuff. First of all, when you said not well, what you mean is we haven't landed a single 5-star offensive lineman since Stud left. So let's be specific. We haven't landed after landing 5-star offensive linemen in 5 straight recruiting cycles. We haven't landed a single guy since Stud left. But Stud was the bad recruiter, according to the experts. So just spare me on that one. But look, on the Seaton thing, I'm telling you guys, the recruiting game has changed. I used to do recruiting stuff. All the time, and that was part of the equal sign and the different stuff. Man, with NIL, you just can't do it. It has killed the kind of like video killed the radio star, like the Buggles. Well, yeah. NIL killed the recruiting gurus. It's like NIL killed the recruiting gurus, and the only guy who knows anything is Hayes Fawcett, who does the edits. And that's pretty much what it is. So wait for the edit. Somebody, Hayes Fawcett is doing the edit, which is that little thing where it's going to show him with angel wings on or whatever it is, floating over a bag of money.
Bags of cash.
Exactly. Bags of cash in his hand. Trying to do it. So just watch to see, if Steve Wilfong or any of these guys does it like 30 minutes beforehand and starts predicting, that's But other than that, man, I don't know, because it's all NIL related. It's not about comfort. It's not about relationships. It's about the bag. And I don't know whose bag was biggest on this one. So I guess we'll all find out and watch for the Hayes Fawcett edit.
Yeah, it's been a weird recruitment. I'm going to toss this film on. This is his senior film. He's playing left tackle here. It's interesting because like his first clip, he kills a little tiny linebacker, and he plays at IMG. You know, IMG is most of you guys know it's an academy where like basically it's like a full like it's like an NFL team, and most teams don't want to play IMG because it's like playing like a college team. So sometimes they'll play good schools, but a lot of times they're playing teams that it's all they can schedule. So and he's a big fluid guy. I mean, he's got a lot of ability. Obviously, he'd be in the mix to start at right tackle like immediately. But these guys, they'll play a few good teams, but a lot of their schedule is like just any poor soul that can go against because you're playing 30 D1 kids on IMG, and most high schools are not built like that. But he's got a lot of ability. He's playing left tackle for these guys. He's a moose. He's a big old boy now. There he is pancaking another guy. You can see him over here just kind of laying on this dude. But I think that he's got a lot of ability. He's rated the number one tackle in the country. And again, I think it's exciting that we're going out on the wire. But when you're going against Oregon and Tennessee, like Tennessee is kind of that outlier where you're just like, why would he go to Tennessee and not Bama or Georgia or one of the factories? Like, well, they've probably got a big old bag of money for him. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, we beat Carnell Tate on Tennessee. We could beat him for this kid. And again, like the thing with recruiting and the reason why like we don't really we follow it, but with the transfer portal, you might have a kid for 1 year and he might be upset and he might leave. So, I mean, I'm more about, can we get impact guys in the portal? Can we get impact guys, however, like guys that can help the team? Because, this kid could start at right tackle for us next year, but, so could Carter Smith from Indiana, who's going to visit, mid-December, it looks like. So, yeah. All right. So, Richard Good, here's your deuce. Appreciate you. Has Kyle McCord misplaying a winning position? I think so. That's a great. I mean, dude, if you want to go to the NFL, I can't imagine a place that you could get developed at better than Ohio State. I mean, just look at the last three guys we've had. We had Dwayne Haskins first round, Fields first round, and then you have CJ Stroud first round. So, Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, is the question that he's like leaving a good spot to go to a bad spot? Is that kind of
like he misplayed a winning, like playing Ohio State at quarterback is basically like a winning position. Like where like if you want to get launched into the NFL, I can't imagine a place that could develop you better and give you better infrastructure than Ohio State. That I believe that is a question from Richard.
Yeah, no, I think there's no question about that. But I clearly the McCords were not getting the warm and fuzzy feeling from Ryan Day about next year. And so as good as the infrastructure is, as good as the receivers are, as good as the training is, if you're not playing, it's like you can't make the club in the tub. If you're not playing, then you're not going to get drafted. So I think for them, it was a business decision. We weren't in the room. But my understanding is that they asked for an assurance that he was going to be QB1, and he was not given the assurance that he was going to be QB1. And maybe it was a rash decision or whatever it was, but they decided to move on to some place that they can be QB1. And I mean this sincerely. I really do kind of understand both sides of the coin on this one because, if you're looking them in the eye and saying, hey, is my kid going to play next year? And they're going, well, not so sure about that. Then that's kind of a no. And if you're getting a no in a situation like that and you want to have your kid have a chance to play, take him somewhere where he's going to play. Like I said, I really sincerely do not begrudge him any of that. It's a business decision. You're talking about humongous sums of money, generational wealth. And, if you want to have a chance to get that and you want to go someplace else and play, God bless you. Go do it. And we're on the Devin Brown and Lincoln train.
Yeah, and I think that it's not even the answer as much as when again these guys all have agents now. This is what's changed in the last 3 years, folks. Is that everybody has a super agent from CAA, Athletes First, like Clutch, the biggest agencies in the world, and these agents have sources and they're friends with a lot of these agents, and they say, hey, do you hear Ohio State offered Cam Ward $2 million? And did they really? And I got Kyle McCord as my client, and they're going out offering that kind of money to that kid who's a quarterback. Like maybe that means they're not really satisfied with my play. Again, actions speak louder than words. Like I mean, I would just be like, oh boy, they didn't offer me $2 million, but they offered that kid from Washington State $2 million. So again, like last year when we went after Drake May, and it's all back channel stuff. Everything goes through high school coaches. I mean, that's how tampering works now. And it's just like one of those crazy moments. I was like, wow, Ryan is really not happy with that room if he's going after Drake May. PJ Studio, thank you for the 20. Happy holidays, SWO, rock on. Appreciate you, my man. As always, Scoop Ultra member as well. So thank you so much for being a part of that. Again, the holidays are here. We appreciate you guys. The 20 is going to pay it forward. So thank you so much for that. Well, Nevada, this has been a crazy day, a wild day. You
We haven't
broke.
even, we haven't even talked about the coaching stuff,
I
man.
literally, I literally was just going to get to that. I was going to say, you broke that we're going to potentially have a couple coaching moves happen. A contract is expiring for Corey Dennis. It does not look like that will be renewed. Parker Fleming potentially getting fired to promote James Laurinaitis into a role where he can be on the road recruiting. Talk a little bit about that, because we had that last week on BuckeyeScoop.com. And again, that's kind of earth shattering just because, you got a couple guys that Parker got extended. Corey Dennis is obviously Urban Meyer's son in law. But your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on it is that we're an hour into the show. I've sung Buggles music. We've talked about the Michigan thing, and we still haven't even gotten to this coaching thing. That tells you how crazy this day's been, man. Yeah, so the word is Fleming out. Dennis out. James Laurinaitis in. So that's James Laurinaitis will become part of the 10 countable coaches, be able to recruit. That's kind of the word that we've got. That's like you said, we had that last week. We've now been able to confirm those. I would expect those. I'm not sure the timing on when that stuff's going to be announced or how that's going to, but that's how that's going to go down. And now, because of that, when you've got two guys out, one guy in, you've always got an open spot. We've talked about different potential people for it. Do you go with a Philbin? Do you go with somebody that's a more senior guy, a little bit more gray hair, a little bit more experience to have some eyes and ears up in the booth? Or do you go with a young guy like a Kenny Guyton or a JT Barrett to bring them in there and bring some of that Ohio State quarterback culture, back to the room? So I think, that'll be very interesting. But yeah, radio killed the video killed the radio star, and Corey Dennis and Parker Fleming walked the plank, but that means James Laurinaitis is walking in, and that's good. I mean, little animal to be on the recruiting trail. It's that's going to be fun to watch because he's a dynamic recruiter. He is, to the defensive side, what Brian Hartline is to the offensive side. He's kind of a rock star. And I think he's going to really, really help out. And that's a big move. Really excited about that move.
Yeah, I am too. It'll be great for us. VP of Hype, thanks to the 5. How much of the McCord recruitment and play, in quotes, over Devin Brown was tethered to Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think a very good amount. I think that, Marvin's dad is tight with Kyle's dad. I think I'm not going to get too far into that, but you guys can read the tea leaves. Excuse me, Nevada. How much of the Kyle McCord deal was tethered to Marvin Harrison Jr.? And again, McCord was a higher rated recruit than Marvin coming out of the gate. So, but your thoughts on that?
Look, I generally think these things are Occam's razor, and I think the reason that McCord got the starting job wasn't because of Marvin Harrison Sr. and it wasn't because of Derek McCord, and it wasn't because of it was because he's been in the program longer. He's been around a couple of years. He was a more of a known quantity to Ryan Day, and he didn't suck. He's 13th in the country in QBR. I mean, he wasn't horrible. I mean, he wasn't great, but had he made one more throw, he'd be on the pantheon of great quarterbacks, and people would be having like parades for him and stuff like that. Little kids. There'd be 97% of the new kids born in Ohio would be named Kyle, but now it's like he sucked and it was a bad decision, and his helicopter dad got him his job, and I don't think he was that bad, but he's gone, so it's irrelevant at this point, and now we kind of going to the new era. Do who do we get? Does Cam Ward go to Washington? Do we get Pratt from Tulane? Does Malik Murphy from Texas jump into the mix? What about do you ride it out with your guys? Do you just go with Devin, ready to roll the dice and roll it out with Devin Brown? What about Riley Leonard? I mean, so just so much intrigue in the quarterback room right now. It's absolutely riveting for me. I love getting up and sourcing stuff every day because it's fascinating info.
I totally agree. Rich is where. Thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Goes to pay it forward. Again, until Christmas, we're going to just keep raising that up for our people. Thanks for all the great insight, Kirk. Come on, everyone. Let's flow these guys with super chats. Again, we appreciate also all the support on this channel. We love doing it. It's a blast. Like, we always have a great time kicking it with you guys every night. We appreciate our core audience, you guys that show up every night, kick it, bring great chats, a lot of familiar faces every single night. So we thank you guys. Well, Nevada, I mean, a lot of info on this one today. It's absolutely crazy. It's been a crazy day on BuckeyesCoop.com. Again, the coaching thing is going to be a huge deal. It'll be interesting to see, if you truly let someone be the quarterback's coach, you'd think that they'd get an offensive coordinator title, but you already have Justin Fry, Brian Hartline, both as co-coordinators. Would you have a third offensive coordinator? I'm not sure, but in general, I think that the best composition of a coaching staff is either the quarterback's coach or the tight ends coach is the offensive coordinator, the true offensive coordinator, the play caller. Be interesting to see who Ryan swings for. Like, I mean, does he want a dynamic young guy? Does he want an older guy? There's a lot of different things you could think of, a lot of directions you could go. And again, it's probably a name that we haven't heard and they've studied. And, like I said, there's a lot of good young coaches that could bring some fresh ideas to the offense. Nikki Buckets, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Everyday listener. Love the show. Any chance Chip at the portal because he had to promise Hayden RB2 to keep him? Don't think he transfers. Otherwise, I just don't know how you promise RB2 to a guy that they redshirted this year. Again, like, I think Dallin Hayden's a good player, but he's not Trey. And I don't know if he might be as good as Chip. I don't know. Nevada, your thoughts. Do you think that there was a talk that Dallin Hayden was going to be either the starting if Trey leaves or the second running back this spring?
Well, I think the only thing that makes sense with the Chip thing is the Trey returning, and then he's kind of looking at the room and kind of going, wow, Trey's going to get the lion's share of the reps, and then I've got this Dallin Hayden kid who's really, really talented, who's going to be behind me, so I'm going to be splitting it, and I want to go someplace else where I can try to carry the ball. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me out of this whole equation, whether it was promised or implied. Dallin's a good player. Dallin's slippery, makes himself skinny in the holes. I like the way he runs. He runs, directly and gets to not a lot of hesitation. Reminds me of Antonio Pittman, who I know you love Pitt. I love Pitt. We all love Pitt. So that's a great comparable. But Trey Henderson and Dallin Hayden in the backfield would be a dynamic 1-2 punch. That's for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it'll be interesting to say the least. I think it's going to be interesting to see. Do we go after a portal guy now? Especially, I mean, if we don't get Jordan Lyle, man, I mean, from the kid from Aquinas, like we're gonna have to go find somebody to play running back other than two guys. I mean, we saw how we were kind of down to one or two guys. We had to burn Dallin's red shirt and burn his 4 games, and I'm sure he's gonna be playing in the Cotton Bowl because there's nobody left to play. You got X that can take a few carries, but he's not an every down guy. He's kind of a slash guy that you play at receiver as well. So. All hands on deck, it looks like. Well, I think we'll wrap this thing up. Nevada, any final thoughts? It's been a busy day on BuckeyesCoop.com. We did a kind of a double header. We had an earlier show. What are your thoughts on the day?
Just crazy day. I mean, coaching changes, pours up. I'm still going all in on the idea that more players are going to play in this game than you think. Guys that you would not expect to play in the bowl game are going to play in the bowl game, and I think that's going to shock the betting world, and it's going to shock some of the Ohio State fans and be an unpleasant shock to some of the Mizzou fans.
I totally agree. I think it's going to be, kind of all hands on deck, and let's rally the guys and burn the boats. I think Devin Brown put it best with his meme. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you guys for kicking it with us tonight. We're going each and every night kicking it with you guys. Thank you so much for the super chats. Again, it goes to Pay It Forward, which is our fund where we help out a lot of military folks. They get. It's tough. They're away from home. We try to give them a little bit of joy on BuckeyesCoop.com. So thank you guys for supporting that. Again, through Christmas, all of the donations through the Super Chats and the Scoop Ultra memberships are going to go to the troops. So thank you guys so much. As always, if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Those are humongous for this video. Click subscribe and also click that little alert bell so you get the alert when we go live. Again, I appreciate all you guys. I see all of our regulars in here. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for the super chats. They add up and they're huge. If you guys are not members of BuckeyeScoop.com, we are breaking records and gaining a ton of new members right now. So thank you guys for all of our new members and our veteran members. We appreciate all of you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. You guys have a good night. Go Bucks.